Hello, everybody, and welcome to Public Works and Finance Committee. I just want to say that you should all be outside because the warm weather's not going to last. So you have my permission to go.
Wow.
I'll just override them. Today we have Councilmember Lewis here for Councilmember Davis, and we have Councilmember Kelly here for Councilmember Kelly.
Yay.
First on our agenda is to approve the Public Works and Finance Committee March 13th minutes, and I thought they looked fine.
I did too. I move we approve them.
Okay. Next on the agenda is the disbursement report for March 2023 with Sarah Banks.
Hi. All right, so looking at the accounts payable report for month ending March 31st, 2023, total expenditures came to $2,760,599. Payroll was the largest expenditure, $1,200,461. I have just a few items to point out for this month. We made our first iCrimp insurance premium payment for 2023, and that was $150,780.50. We had our payment number 4 for Booster Station Phase 2 rebid for $343,540.90. And the 6th Street Bridge over Paradise Creek Street improvements for $154,435.11. There's a little bit smaller expenditure for our FY23 computer order through IS, and that was $58,942.31, and that is for replacement and new computers.
And that wasn't a surprise, right?
No,
Okay.
that's part of the budget.
I have 2 questions, if that's okay.
Mhm.
Is iCrimp semi-annual or annual? Like, is it one
Semi-annual.
of, so is it like, do we do 2?
Two payments.
Okay,
Mhm.
beautiful. And then my other question, which may be more of a bill question, I saw the expenditure for mailboxes on Palouse River Drive, like that we're paying someone to put in city mailboxes on Palouse River Drive. And I guess maybe I don't understand. I don't know what it is, and I'm curious to know when the city's on the hook to put in mailboxes and things like that. So I don't know if it's replacing.
It may have been related to the frontage improvements on Palouse River Drive in conjunction with the Eddington addition. So there were some disruptions of frontage improvements. The city did agree to participate in some fence relocation. There was a fence that was recently installed as part of the widening that we were having the adjacent developers do, or the Eddington developers. It was impacting some of those properties. So it could have been that we had mailboxes that need to be relocated as part of that. And the city agreed to cover that cost. So I know we agreed to participate in some of the fence relocation and a portion of some of those other miscellaneous costs related to those improvements as they impacted those adjacent owners that weren't a party to those improvements.
Gotcha. Yeah, it wasn't a huge amount. I'm not used to seeing the city do mailboxes. So those are my only 2 questions. Other than that, looks good.
And the ETA on the 6th Street Bridge?
Yeah.
That's probably not a
Looking at
finance
Tyler.
question, yeah?
I'm looking at Tyler. He's ignoring me.
By the end of June.
Okay.
So we had a meeting today. As of right now, the most current schedule is about mid-May for be completely back open. So yeah, exactly.
Cool. Thank you.
Thanks. All right.
What do you need from us? Do we need to move something?
We approve that we
Okay.
authorize.
Sorry.
Oh, wait, that's the disbursement report.
Yep. And then
Oh,
so
we approve that we-
signature.
There we go. Sorry. It's been a while.
It's
Approve
okay.
and authorize the use of digital signatures to sign the disbursements report for the month of March 2023.
Yep.
Yeah, so moved, whatever you need to do.
Okay.
No
Thank you.
concerns.
Great.
Thank you.
And
Mhm.
am I right? You have all of ours on file now? Is that
Yes,
right?
we do.
Even Drew's? Okay,
Mhm. We have everything we need.
cool.
All right, next up is also Sarah for the second quarter financial report for January 1st, 2023 to March 31st, 2023.
Yes, so in your packet, you'll see our breakout of budget to actual. Typically this time of year in most funds other than capital, you're going to see expenses ranging anywhere from 25% to 50%. Across the board, that is pretty much where we're at. You're going to see those few funds, which are mostly the transfers that are at 100%, and that's because that's our one-time transfers we do at the beginning of the year. There is one that's 138%. I'm going to find that. Hold on one second.
Water fund.
Yes,
outlay.
water funds. So that's at 138% because there was some holdback expenses that were done after the budget was complete. And so they had to purchase some fire hydrants, meters, and a removal of an old White Avenue booster.
Yep.
And so that increased that expense over what was initially budgeted, but the funds are appropriated in the fund to be able to expense.
Okay.
Other than that, if you have any questions, just let me know.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Any questions on that one?
Just to confirm, the ones that are trending under 50% right now are likely going to be things that we see the expense incur, like it'll be ball fields and stuff where seasonality will impact like when that's getting billed, right? Or
Correct. Or capital.
Okay.
So yeah, seasonal activities, so your parks, rec, all of that, along with capital expenses, streets, things that we have to have nicer weather to be able to complete, you're going to see those catch up towards the end of the year.
Gotcha. That's all I got.
Excellent.
All right, then we need to approve the fiscal year 2023 second quarter report.
So moved on my end.
That sounds good.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks,
We're
Sarah.
all in agreement. Thank you. Next up on the agenda is the Art Walk season finale alcohol use request in the entertainment district.
It almost feels like if we
Amanda
say
and-
season finale, we need fireworks or something.
I know, I wanted to,
Trumpets.
Trumpets, yeah.
Amanda Argona and Megan Cherry.
Good afternoon. So in your packet is a hefty little CCSR for the Art Walk season finale that the City of Moscow Arts Department is hosting Thursday, June 15th from 4 to 8 on Main Street between 3rd and 6th Streets. So it's an annual event that wraps up the 2022-2023 Art Walk season. It's a city-hosted event and anticipate no more than 5 beer and wine vendors. Megan's been running all the logistics on it. And really just as part of our standard operating procedures, we put forward a resolution that legal's reviewed. The event has been approved by all appropriate city staff as of March 1st. So in your packet is a draft resolution requesting the temporary suspension of the open container law. And Megan is here to answer any Art Walk details.
So I'm always curious, and I don't know if you want to spill any beans or not, but if you have any beans you're willing to spill, anything new and fun coming up this year at Art Walk besides the amazing artists?
Yeah, I mean, the artists are always the big news at Art Walk. What we're really excited about this year, we're rolling into our second year with the new event footprint, which includes the Public Works Fair in the South Side there on 5th Street. And we've got people signing up. We've got musicians being booked, people excited to get involved in it. So I don't know that there are necessarily beans, but to spill. However, it's shaping up and it's pretty incredible. We're just under a month away from the registration deadline, so that means we're going to start to see stuff coming in pretty fast now.
I just like beans, so I thought I'd check.
Great.
Thanks.
Yeah. If I'll let you know.
Okay.
Come up with any.
It is really close to my birthday, so could we call it the Julia's birthday Art Walk
Oh.
season finale?
Yes, we can
Thank you. I'll
do
just
that.
make
If
Also,
An abuse of power. Hang on.
yeah, so moved.
So, okay, everybody's in agreement? Gosh, if the weather's nice, or maybe even if the weather's not nice, last big event I went to that had beer and wine, they were pretty overwhelmed with customers. I think 5 is enough. Do you
Yeah.
think 5 vendors is?
Well, we had, so last year we had 2 beer and wine vendors on the street, and then we had an additional 4 that were participating in brick and mortar locations. AccuWeather right now is saying that June 15th is going to be partly sunny and in the mid 70s. But, that a lot of things can change between now and then. But I think that's definitely something to think think about. We do have some really great, here's some beans actually. We've got some really great non-alcoholic beverage vendors signed up, which I think is going to add some balance for those folks who are wanting that kind of offering. And we also do have the same two on-street beer and wine vendors signed up already. So I think it's going to develop and be all right. But we've done a lot of outreach. Amanda's done a lot of outreach, and we've done some through my office too, just to make sure everybody's aware of the opportunity.
Does that take away from, and the reason I don't know this, and I feel like I should, is I'm usually helping my mom at one little place, right? And so in the past, I know that the brick and mortar folks, they could have their own setup as well, like the cookies and the drinks and whatnot. Is that still allowed, or is it trying to like encourage people to go out? Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. People are absolutely welcome to do their own offerings in their host locations. When I say beer and wine vendors in a brick and mortar location, that means somebody who specifically signs up to have the cups
I
and the
gotcha.
wristbands, so they can be a location where somebody starts their Art Walk experience. I go, I show my ID, I get my wristband and my cup, and then I'm set to go. And so, you know, a person or a host location that has either has a beer and wine license or has hired a licensed caterer can certainly serve in their location without registering as. I'm actually glad you asked that question. That's really helpful, because it just means that we aren't going to drop off cups at their location, but they can still absolutely do that as long as they either have a beer and wine license or they've hired a licensed caterer.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
I have a question. I can't remember, has the Art Walk finale always been on a Thursday, or has it been on a Saturday or a Friday in previous years?
It's been on Friday in previous years. I'm trying to remember what year. I believe it was 2020 we surveyed the community to see, to gauge interest in the expanded season that we've been seeing. And so we asked the question about what day of the week would work well for this. And we resoundingly heard Thursday. So there's a lot of feedback on that. At some point, we may consider surveying again. But it seems to be working well. It's not something that goes till we're not going till 10 o'clock at night.
Right.
So it's
I love it on a Thursday.
And it makes sense for branding for people who may find themselves at the downtown finale that don't know that we've got third Thursdays nearly the rest of the year. So I just couldn't remember. I feel like I've missed the past few before it was switched to Thursdays because weekends in the summer are weddings or funerals or camping. So I'm glad it's on a Thursday. It should be great. I don't have any concerns.
Yay.
All right, then we need to recommend approval of the resolution allowing for temporary suspension of the open container law within the event footprint of the Art Walk season finale for the duration of the event.
Sounds good.
Yes.
Consent agenda.
Consent.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you.
Again.
Next, we have Amanda again with the Moscow Renaissance Fair alcohol use request in East City Park.
So this is a relatively new process that we've worked with the Parks and Recreation Department on because our office is responsible for working with the entertainment district and doing the alcohol use requests. David Shaw and I kind of chatted, and it seemed to make sense that we would also take on alcohol use requests in East City Park, or really any city park, but East City Park's the most common. And so Ren Fair is a bit of a unique hybrid event in that technically their whole event takes place in East City Park, and they do have to come to our office to get an event permit because they are sectioning off a section of the streets surrounding by East City Park. And then, of course, they have to come through us for the alcohol use for the beer and wine garden. Most events that take place in East City Park that are just requesting the alcohol use don't have to actually go through the event application process. So in your packet, again, is a draft resolution to allow for open containers in a city park that legal has already reviewed. Included in the resolution is a footprint. And I apologize if there are any wonky images. But
Color.
there should be another image to help guide you that's just not as bright. But they are requesting a beer and wine garden that's 30 feet by 20 feet. And beer sales would take place noon to 7:30 on Saturday, May 6th, and 12 to 5 on Sunday, May 7th. They are just anticipating one licensed beer and wine vendor. But we see no issue with this. And the applicant is here if you have further questions about Ren Fair, and I'm here to answer any questions about the process.
I have a clarifying question. It's the street closure that triggered the full
Event application. Yeah.
Okay.
Per city code, anything that has the potential to disrupt vehicle or pedestrian traffic flow has to have a permit.
But that's new.
No, that's
the
always been
process is new because of
the alcohol.
it moved from Parks and Rec.
The alcohol. Yeah, I think David was here last year giving the presentation for the alcohol beer and wine garden.
We missed you. He did great. It worked well last year. I don't have any questions. It ran there last year. It seemed to go well.
Same location as always, Lou?
We're going to actually.
Oh, you gotta
Yeah,
come up.
come on up and,
We're going to actually extend the size a little bit.
oh, cool.
Towards the west so that people who are in the beer garden can actually see the stage because they've been over there to the side all these years and, they deserve to see the musicians as well as hear them. So we're going to extend it a little bit and we're going to put the entrance on that west side
Oh, nice.
rather than right on the path, which would get kind of
Yeah.
congested.
Yeah.
Great. Good ideas. Then when you're in beer jail, you can see
I know, and I spent a lot of
see
time.
the
over there.
stage.
I feel like you've got an opportunity to market it as we survive Ren Fair's beer jail. 23. Yeah, I don't have any concerns. I know that there's a
Good.
opportunity for us to maybe simplify some of the expenses that you guys see at some point for what we have to charge for security, but I know it's a much bigger conversation about liability and
Yeah.
stuff. So
Well, and we've been using Allied Universal in Spokane for our security, and they just will not do an alcohol event without two
Yeah.
guards there.
even with the small
Yeah.
footprint,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's not really an issue. We just, it's safer for everybody to
Right.
have two people there. So it's good.
Okay.
Did you happen to look at the AccuWeather to see what we might?
Oh,
You know, the AccuWeather wasn't right yesterday.
This morning, and it's probably gonna rain tonight. I think that will hit our degree of rain.
well, we're due for a warm year for the Ren Fair. It's been cold and chilly for the last few, so.
It seems like there's always one good day, one really terrible day.
I definitely have gotten my first sunburn of the season many, many years at Ren Fair. Yeah.
All right, then we need to recommend approval of the resolution allowing for the possession and consumption of alcoholic beverages in the designated beer garden in East City Park for Moscow Renaissance Fair for the listed dates and times during the event.
Has my approval
No
Excuse
concerns.
me.
and
Okay,
consent.
and that goes on consent again.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lou. Thanks, Amanda.
All right, next up, we have Tim Davis to talk about recycling services agreement between the City of Moscow and the University of Idaho.
My specs on here. So the university approached the city of Moscow a little over a year ago about reintroducing recycling on campus. After many meetings with university staff and looking at a number of different collection options and container size options, the university has made the decision to take on the collections of single stream recycling with their own staff and resources. The university staff heading up the program have been great to work with. They're very excited and they have the blessing of President Green on this project. The University of Idaho is committed to begin a single stream recycling program on campus with collections being performed in-house by their facility staff. The City of Moscow fully supports this effort and is committed to accept and process the single stream recyclable materials collected on campus down at Moscow Recycling Center. Sanitation and U of I facility staff has met with Inland North Waste staff at Moscow Recycling to work out delivery scheduling and logistics of the new program. The university has purchased 250 to 395 gallon roll carts, as well as a compacting collection truck for the collecting efforts. University janitorial staff have been trained on the materials currently being accepted in the existing City of Moscow single stream recycling program. The janitorial staff will be responsible for getting the recyclable materials from the offices and buildings to the rollout carts for collection, as well as screening and removing any contaminants prior to depositing these materials in the roll carts for collection. University facilities staff will service the carts and deliver collected materials to the Moscow Recycling Center to be baled and then shipped to a material recovery facility. Before you today for your consideration is a service agreement between the City of Moscow and the University of Idaho, which lays out the responsibilities of both parties for the purposes of this program. This agreement automatically renews each October 1 unless terminated by either party. The university will also compensate the City of Moscow for processing and shipping costs and a small administrative fee on a per ton basis based on the material that they deliver. Questions?
I have a few, if that's okay, Julia.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I read through the contract and I want to make sure I understand. The university's on the hook for delivering baled goods to, they're just collecting and then we'll do the baling.
We do the baling. That's some of the
Okay.
processing
Okay,
costs.
gotcha. And then I'm glad that the roll carts are already bought. I'm just haunted by that year that we bought the recycling or
The wrong color.
the wrong color and they were too close in color to trash. And so I'm guessing that whatever the university bought, even though they're not required to make sure we like them, are we happy with whatever roll carts they've procured?
It's their program. It's
Okay,
their
up to
money,
them.
their cart. So I really don't even know
Okay.
what color they are.
Because I'm trying to remember, the concern was that it was too close in color for our
Mhm.
collectors to distinguish between trash and,
Correct. And they're responsible for addressing contamination of the
Okay.
materials. That would be the risk, would be contamination if it was too close to, but I don't think they do have some, I guess, sanitation roll carts on campus, but they have a lot of mechanical
they
containers
do
for
a
most of their solid
And,
waste.
and like I said, the janitorial staff who will actually be collecting the recyclables from the office spaces and buildings and getting them to the carts are well versed on what's accepted now, and they'll be screening anything that's not supposed to be in there. So it's another level of education.
cool.
That's the primary difference between their program and our program is we're taking directly from the producer, whereas they
Gotcha.
have the janitorial staff that's trained that will be acting as that filtration point. And so we don't have the contamination concerns, but we will be monitoring it. And there's a provision in the contract that if they are sending us recycling that doesn't meet the contamination level requirements, that then we can revisit that.
And that's why I was glad to clarify that we're not collecting baled goods, because that's where I was concerned was if we're bailing not
Not the right stuff.
not the right stuff, that'd be a bummer.
Yep.
Is it, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Is there a system set in place, because this has concerned me also on both ends, of like a warning system of, hey, you're not meeting our requirements, is like
Yeah.
continual review? Because I see that
Yeah,
being a real
it
problem.
wouldn't be some sort of abrupt, we tell them, okay, you don't have a program anymore. We'd work with them. And so as they're dumping on the floor, we have an opportunity to say, hey, this is contaminated. And so there are multiple points. One, their janitorial staff and their training. So they're going to be actually the ones making the deposit. And then they're trained with, it's a lot better just to send it over to as solid waste if it is a contaminated load. And then when we dump it on the floor, then the staff that we contract with at the recycling center will have an opportunity to look at it and see if it's contaminated before we actually bail and ship. And so there's a lot of different points where we can assure that there's compliance. And then if there's, the first step would just be notifying and then additional education, retraining. And then if we continue to see problems, then we would escalate from there.
And I saw a note that campus was already hosting some cool outreach.
They're very excited
So that-
about
We're
this.
so excited.
Yeah.
And can you remind me, why did I don't remember why recycling stopped on
The
campus.
university opted to suspend that service. It was a
Okay.
service that they no longer wanted to pay for.
I'm going to tell myself it was due to staffing. That's my hope, and not from lack of interest. So,
Well, I don't know that. I mean, lack of interest is just, recycling's hard in your house. right? And in one building, you put it on a campus with that kind of mayhem, and it just gets really hard to monitor, I think.
And there's been a big shift since they suspended the program. You know, a lot of the kids that they're seeing coming now grew up with recycling. They have far better understanding and more of a commitment to it. And so really one of the things that's driven this has been a demand that's come up from the students through administration. This has been very grassroots, that they want to have this.
Cool. And how does LSI fit into this contract?
We contract with LSI for the processing at the recycling center. And so they will be the entity. We compensate them for the processing of the tonnage. So
You buy pieces per tonnage, and then we pay LSI.
That's right.
All right.
I already
You
have a
don't get to
badge.
ask questions from the audience, sorry. Hand, but. All right, then we need to recommend approval of the services agreement between the City of Moscow and the University of Idaho for a single stream recycling program.
I approve.
Sounds good.
Consent, or you
Yeah.
want it on the
Consent.
agenda? Thank you, Tim.
Thank you. Nice.
Next on the agenda is asphalt rubber chip 2023 bid results.
You
and
know it's
contract
spring
award.
when you get the.
Smells like asphalt rubber chip.
I do have some pictures more enjoyable. As you said, I'm here to present this year's asphalt rubber chip seal project. This is a continuation of the city's pavement preservation program that uses a pavement condition index rating to identify roads with moderate distress that don't require completely new paving, but could use some treatment to prolong the life of the road. And shows the different projects since 2011. City's elected to either go with a slurry seal or an asphalt rubber chip. Thank you, Bill. That's a little dark. This year, our streets department went with an asphalt rubber chip. Our chip consists of an asphalt binder, but it also has a crumb rubber modifier in it that's sprayed onto the ground like that picture at right. It's then covered with heated pre-coated aggregate and then compacted in place. And they like this because the rubber helps the binder resist cracking and also prevents more cracking in the future. So it's a little more expensive, but I think it's a better product. Here's some pictures again. Up at the top right is the asphalt. It's the binder with the rubber and then the chips at the bottom. And they've had great results. An example of that is B Street from Adams to Lincoln that had a PCI rating of 71 in 2017. Just they did a chip project in 2019. And then 2 years later, when it had the PCA ratings done again, it scored at 100, which is the top. So here's kind of a neat illustration, color coding, showing what a pretty affordable process can do to increase the longevity of the roads. And so here's a couple of pictures. Streets Department identified a list of good candidates, and with the funding available, narrowed it down to about 40,000 square yards, which include segments on Washington Street from Morton to 1st, Jefferson Street from Morton to 8th, and then again, from Morton to 3rd, and then on Jefferson Street again from 7th to Spotswood. They like to do a segment on B Street from Mountain View to Blaine, Logan Street from 6th Street to the Troy Highway. Like to do a segment on Lewis Street from Washington Street to Logan Street. And then lastly, on 2nd Street from Van Buren to Jefferson. Solicitation went out last month, and the city received one responsive bid from Dulo Construction for $433,962.23. Engineer's estimate was approximately $475,000. And so with that request recommending awarding the contract to Dulo Construction for the bid amount and authorizing staff approval for construction change orders not to exceed 10%. In your packet, there's the standard contract that was reviewed by legal. With that, I'll stand for any questions.
Only one bid? That seems like a surprise on this.
Yeah, I think for some of these folks, they have to come from a long ways. These group is out of Snoqualmie, so with our quantities, it just makes sense for some of the bigger folks, I guess.
And if I might note, so this was not a budgeted project in the current fiscal year. So we received last fiscal year some one-time monies that the legislature appropriated for road maintenance activities. So we are requesting the council's authorization to go ahead and do a surface treatment program because it is so important to our roadway maintenance program to continue with these where we can. It was about a little over 480,000 of one-time funds for roadway maintenance that we did receive last year. So that has been, we got rolled over in the beginning of the fiscal year into the street fund. And so we would, during the open budget process coming up at the end of the summer, then we would appropriate this expenditure. So it isn't something that is in the budget today. I also wanted to highlight that, and we would include it in the open budget process.
Thanks, Bill.
Question, so is it a reimbursement scenario or they?
No.
Okay, that
No,
just,
these are one-time monies we've already received.
I just get nervous sometimes when I hear one-time money and if it's a reimbursement that they may decide that it's not a qualified expense. And I had the same question, Sandra, it's like, do we get nervous if there's only one bidder? But I recognize this name. I think we've worked with Doolittle before, right?
Yeah, they do good work. And we kind of called it was less than what we expected. So
Okay.
they did.
Any reason? I mean, that's a relatively large amount to be difference. And where did that come from? Do you know?
No, I guess they didn't know they were the only ones bidding. So they've got a little more aggressive.
I'm not complaining.
Right, exactly. It's good to go that way.
Yeah.
I have a question if we could pull the map up again.
Yeah.
Do we have any concerns with this selection of streets? No, I'm picturing for that
Both
neighborhood, it's just
Lilly
going to
and
be
the
chaos.
alley between Almond and Asbury will have large construction project this summer, but that's a quadrant we aren't doing any surface treatments in. So both Lilly and the Almond Asbury are going to be located to the west of Washington. All of this work would be happening on the east of Washington, so we shouldn't see any conflicts with those
Okay.
projects.
I see the Lily label now. I just,
Relatively quick.
Yeah.
It is. It's in a day, and they let it cure, and then they fog seal the next day. So it's really quick. People are able to drive on it, and it cools in a couple of hours. So
and I think as we've seen more people return to the office, I hope you're going to see less grumpy neighbors. I've always had a really good luck with their notification process and everything. So
Doolittle wasn't great that way. Yeah.
cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we need to recommend acceptance of the low responsive bid from Doolittle Construction to award the contract in the amount of $433,962.33 and authorize staff approval for the construction change orders in an amount not to exceed 10% of the contract amount.
So rude for me.
Yep.
Okay.
Sounds,
All right,
Good.
let's put that on consent agenda then.
I do have a lingering follow-up question. Is there anything else that is so easy for us to expend $480,000 of one-time expenses in? Like this seems to make a lot of sense because it's easy to deploy. We're just pulling from the next chapter and pulling it in.
Correct.
But is there anything else that you would have wanted to see it used for?
Well, I mean, there's a long list of street improvements, certainly, but this program, because of the expenditure of the 6th Street Bridge, we were foregoing a surface treatment round this year.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so this is just helping make up for that funding we are otherwise allocating to 6th Street in order to continue with that program.
Cool.
So this is where we want to put the money.
And we did talk about this at a previous Public Works meeting. So
Good to know.
it's not the
Sorry,
first,
guys.
no, it's okay. It's just not the
Yeah.
first time that we've heard about it.
Love it.
All right, next on the agenda is the Palouse Mall AC water main replacement bid results and contract award with Nate, sir.
Hello, thanks for having me. So this is another bid result based on our AC water main replacement project. A little bit of a background on it. This is the water main, and the entire line extends from Well 9 to Farm Road, but we won't be replacing the entire section. So the majority of it's already been replaced. We're just finishing the final 750 feet of that 12-inch water line, and we'll be replacing asbestos cement pipe with C900, which is the pressure class PVC pipe. We're also going to install a valve cluster on Farm Road that will allow us to continue south as we need and remove another old section that runs under the old movie theater there.
You four.
So pretty simple project. This is, as you can see here, this is the Winco building, and we'd just be and then runs across, we'd be taking a different route. And part of the reason of that is so that we can get the majority of the line built and chlorinated and tested before we have to start tying over services to it. So that it makes the construction sequencing a lot easier. And you can see that a little more in detail here. You can see where the southern line jogs as it currently exists, and we'll be taking that northern line and bringing those services over to connect to where they exist. And then the removal will happen after that. So we advertised early this March with a bid opening at the end of the month. Our estimate for the project was $481,185. We received 3 bids on that, and the low bid was from ML Albright and Sons in the amount of $422,530. So our recommendation is to accept the low bid from ML Albright and Sons and award the contract in the amount of $422,530 and authorize change orders up to 10%. And if there are any questions, I'll take them now.
Do you have a time frame for this project?
We have this one on a 45-day window because we expect it to be a fairly quick. So that'd be 45 calendar days. So it doesn't include the weekends so that's about a 9-week window is what we're anticipating. The contractors have been informed that they're going to have to stay in good working relationships with both the Winco deliveries and any access that the university needs up on Farm Road.
Yeah.
So that will be
Top of mind.
top of mind.
Yeah.
Exactly. Thank you.
Yeah, my only concern was making sure that they know to play nice with Winco because I like it when my fresh produce is still fresh. So
Does this put
Yes.
any extra pressure on the well at all, or take pressure off, or is it pretty much the same?
This actually takes some pressure off. So one of the concerns, in addition to the asbestos material, is the brittle nature of this pipe. So having a brittle pipe next to a water line that experiences fluctuations in pressure, such as a
Yeah.
well pump kicking on, is not ideal. And so getting this out of the way it's going to make Mike Parker sleep a lot better at night.
I'm just excited for us to address the AC risk as best as we can.
I
Thank
think
you.
we should approve.
I don't even get a
All
penny
right,
left.
we recommend acceptance of the bid for ML Albright and Sons Incorporated and award the contract in the amount of $422,530 and authorize staff approval of construction change orders in an amount not to exceed 10% of the contract. That sounds good. Sounds good. Sounds good.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Steve. Great.
Would you like that on consent?
Yeah,
Let's do it.
we have a lot on consent.
Nice.
Anything else? Anything else?
Oh. All right.
All right. Thank you. We can adjourn our meeting at 4:37.